Today you're going to do your human resource strategy. This is going to be based upon the enterprise tasks that you've already identified in your operations strategy. Take each one of those enterprises and lay out the tasks associated with completing them from start to finish, and then apply manpower against those tasks. Identify who's going to do that. From this, develop a job description for each one of the tasks or jobs that you need done in your enterprises. You also need to look at what you're going to compensate the workers with. And it could be a number of things, not only just pay. You could provide housing, a car, insurance, or maybe a retirement plan. This is all things you have to consider in the human resource strategy plan. So let's get started.
Labor and management are important to the success of any business, particularly family farm businesses. Walk challenges grow when a major change in business strategy is involved, when the roles of managers, family members, and employees can shift from production management to marketing management, for instance. In this class, you and your planning team will begin to build a human resources strategy to address your workforce needs. This strategy should embrace your family goals while meeting new business needs. You will begin your strategic planning by answering questions about: what are our future workforce needs? What skills will be required to fill workforce needs? How will you fill workforce gaps? How will you pay family and members of our workforce? Who will manage the business and how? You'll work through this human resources section of developing a business strategy by working through the many aspects of human resources. You will begin your research by determining projected labor needs for each enterprise. Next, you will compare your projected labor needs against current labor resources to identify any gaps, as you did in the operations class for physical resources. You and your planning team will then need to consider how to fill those gaps and to identify one or more strategies for doing so. Finally, you will develop a strategy for managing labor and the business. This is perhaps one of the most critical components of your business strategy. Without an effective management plan or business manager, even the best of business plans can fall apart. Take your time developing a human resources management strategy. It will be one of your keys to success. Begin building your human resources strategy with some critical thinking about the type of work and accompanying workloads that will be necessary to reach your future vision and to carry out the marketing, operations and finance related work within the business. What new marketing, operations and finance related tasks will be required to produce and market a new product or to implement and manage a new production system? Be realistic about your labor needs and consider the not so obvious elements of business ownership and management, such as time required to communicate with staff, make equipment repairs, and handle administrative needs. For example, if you are considering organic production, be sure to plan ample time for record keeping. The paperwork necessary to track inputs, harvest and storage in an organic system can be tedious and time-consuming. Many organic producers consider the organic premium to be primarily a payment for the extra administrative efforts required by credible certification agencies, notes certification specialist Matt Matthews. The audit trail for a certified organic product must be maintained with great detail. Once you and your planning team have brainstormed a list of new tasks, try to estimate how much time each task will require and note any seasonal bottlenecks. This will help you to visualize the peaks and valleys of work demands, which in turn will help determine how to fill workforce needs or reduce workloads. Be sure to include work involved in producing and marketing products, maintaining equipment and facilities, and in managing the business when calculating your labor needs. If you are uncertain about how much time will be needed for each task, talk with other farmers, or consult a list of traditional enterprise-related labor requirements. If you haven't already done so, describe the labor requirements for current tasks. You could also begin this research by tracking your own current hours to get a sense of just how much time is involved in seemingly routine tasks. You may be surprised by the results. Then use these actual recorded hours as a basis for developing realistic projections for your future labor and staff needs. Before you begin to develop a strategy for filling workforce needs, you should get a good feel for the type of skills required for each new task or position. This information, combined with workload estimates, should help you better decide how to fill your human resources needs. Begin your research by learning more about any new work that you and others will be required to do. Develop well thought out job descriptions that are compatible with the business mission and goals for each new position that will be created. Job descriptions, even for those positions that will be filled internally with family labor, can help make your human resources strategy a positive one by clearly identifying desired skills, expectations, responsibilities and compensation. Next, think about how you will fill current and future workforce gaps. In other words, begin building your human resources strategy. You could redefine tasks for the current workforce, add new labor to the workforce, access additional labor through work trade, contracting, or new business arrangements, substitute capital for labor. Will you shift responsibilities or reassign tasks among your current workforce? Will you hire family or community members to fill new jobs? Will you reorganize the business to reduce your own workload? Any one of these strategies may be appropriate for your business depending on the values and holistic goals identified by your planning team, your financial picture, and the skills of your current workforce. The labor strategy that you choose will depend on how much of a gap exists between your current workforce and your projected workforce needs. For instance, if most of your projected labor needs can be met through your current workforce, you may decide to hire part-time workers or custom operators to meet seasonal bottlenecks or remaining needs. On the other hand, if you anticipate major gaps between current and future labor needs, you may want to consider hiring additional permanent or temporary staff, substituting capital for labor, or reorganizing the business into a partnership so that labor and equipment can be shared. If you've decided to reassign current tasks or jobs, refer to the skills assessment that you developed in earlier along with each team member's personal workload goals to determine who will fill projected workforce needs. Be realistic. On the other hand, if you plan to add labor, consider the range of acquisition options such as contract labor, custom operators, employees, family labor, interns and volunteers. There are advantages and disadvantages of some of these alternatives. Some of these strategy alternatives may have significant tax, equity and cash flow implications. You will have an opportunity to evaluate workforce plans from a financial perspective later, before finalizing the labor component of your whole farm business strategy. Ultimately, your labor strategy, your decision to hire workers, purchase equipment or reorganize the business, will depend on your financial goals and personal values. As you develop a workforce strategy, revisit your values and goals for human resources. Think about your willingness to perform field work, communicate with customers, work with livestock, or maintain financial records, among other things. Now let's look at the compensation you intend to provide for the performance of these tasks. Wages and other benefits that you offer family, employees, hired labor, interns and contracted labor will vary with industry rates and standards as well as the type of work involved, and you and your planning team will need to consider all of these factors when developing a labor compensation package as part of your overall human resources strategy. A good place to begin developing your benefits strategy is by looking at industry standards. Find out what salary and other benefits are typical for your business, check with your state Department of Agriculture or talk to other farmers, and adjust them according to your own values and goals. In addition to a cash wage or salary, common forms of labor compensation include housing, room and board, products, milk, meat, nursery stock, cheese, automobile, insurance, health, accident, stocks or shares of the business, and retirement investments, such as a simplified employed pension, SEP, plan or 401k. You may want to review business organization alternative strategies to explore tax and other institutional requirements before settling on a labor compensation strategy. An accountant or attorney will be able to help you work out the details of human resources compensation if needed. Then use this information to develop monthly and hourly labor input expense estimates for each position. Now that you have defined your labor needs, job descriptions for each task, and associated compensation, it is time to determine who will manage the business and how. Good management and communication are pivotal and often intangible qualities of a successful business. No matter how well a business strategy has been researched and evaluated, it will not help accomplish your goals unless there is an effective manager behind it, one who knows how to communicate. Therefore, spend a little time fleshing out a management and communication plan for the business. Farm business managers, like most independent small business owners, are responsible for a range of tasks that include planning, organization, decision-making and control of resources. They are responsible for the long-term development and success of the business, implementing the business plan, monitoring performance, and facilitating change. Based on your skills assessment, think about your ability and desire to manage the farm business, to plan, organize, make decisions, and communicate with your workforce. Taking on management responsibilities yourself is only one of several strategic options. You might consider other strategic alternatives such as hiring out management, partnering with someone else to share management duties, transferring the management duties to someone else within the business. This management strategy required constant communication and a clear understanding of the business objectives by all members of the management team. Regardless of whether you plan to manage as a team, with a partner, or on your own, effective communication will be important. Although communication does not guarantee success of a farm business, its absence usually assures problems. A communication problem may soon become a crisis, or it may linger on for years. Think hard about your willingness to perform the duties of an effective communicator. Your management strategy should include a short and long-term backup plan to arrange for management in the case of an emergency due to illness or shift in goals on the part of management. A written management plan can be particularly useful, and may become a final part of your business plan if you decide to manage as a team. Management teams and boards often use written management plans to clearly specify management responsibilities, check-in meeting dates, and a description of grievance procedures. Now summarize your human resources strategy for each enterprise or the whole farm. If appropriate, title this your human resources strategy summary. Carefully review your research, and describe workforce needs and plans for filling them. Note the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities and threats, SWOT, associated with each strategy. This also is a good time to list human resources expense estimates for each enterprise. You will use this information when you evaluate the feasibility of each strategy alternative.